Hello, everyone, and welcome back. As always, I'm your girl, Candy Washington. And before we dive into today's Kiki, which is Robyn Dixon and Andy Cohen set to have a post reunion interview doing damage control, because as we know, Robyn Dixon and Gizellle Bryant admitted to knowing about Juan's cheating affair allegations and that they chose to lie about it on the show. They chose to not disclose it to production. And then they asked all of us to pay them on their Patreon for, quote, the truth. We also know that Carlos King was very vocal about how if it was on his watch, Robyn would be fired, probably Gizellle and Ashley too, because it seems as though Ashley also knew about the lie and that they used other lies and other people's storylines to deflect from the real situation. But we are going to get into it. We're going to get into it. But before we do, you know what to do. Go ahead and like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss it when we go live. Also, be sure to share this with a friend because the Kiki is always better with community. And check out our description box down below. Join our newsletter. It is free. And also check out our courses and podcasts. So with that, let's dive right on in now. So this is according to Taste of Reality. It says Robyn Dixon to appear in post-reunion interview with Andy Cohen regarding what she omitted from Real Housewives of Potomac. Let's hope Andy grills her for sharing her life on a podcast, not the show she's paid to be on. In the words of Oda Mae Brown from the movie Ghost, Robyn, you in danger, girl. Side note, this also comes on the heels of, I want to be transparent, the source that said this was Media Takeout. You know, take Media Takeout with a grain of salt. Sometimes it's a hit or miss with them, so I want to be 100% transparent. But don't forget that this comes on the heels of the rumor that Media Takeout came with that Robyn Dixon was fired. So according to them, she flew to New York to tape Watch What Happens Live, which is going to air this Sunday after the Real Housewives of Potomac season finale. And that, you know, during the interview, it was very contentious. It was very heated. You could tell Andy was really pissed and not really having it for Robyn. Robyn was very defensive. It was just a very heated situation. And then after they filmed, you know, the segment, after the cameras were down, an audience member said that they heard Andy say to Robyn, you won't be back next season, essentially saying, like, I want you gone, you're going to be fired. Now, no other source other than Media Takeout has said this, so we can take that with a grain of salt. But let's get back to this situation now from Taste of Reality, and their source is TV Deets. So this is a little bit more of a stronger source. So it says, in addition to the 3-part Real Housewives of Potomac reunion, Andy Cohen is slated for a one-on-one interview with Robyn Dixon concerning the scandal she chose to omit from the show, but dished to her podcast audience for $5 a listen. Below is the official episode description from @TVDeets. Andy has a special, and that's what's on the screen. So if you can't read the screen, don't worry, I'm going to read it for you guys, okay? Andy has a special post-reunion conversation with Robyn and dives into Robyn's bombshell admission that Juan was inappropriately communicating with another woman prior to their wedding. The good news is that audience will finally get the real-life drama we missed on this flop of a season. The bad news is we have to wait until Sunday, March 5th to hear it. Unless, of course, Robyn chooses to spill it behind a paywall instead. Oop! On a scale of 1 to 10, how hard do you think Andy will read Robyn? Let's sound off. Okay, you guys, a couple of things. Thank you, Juanita, for the super sticker. I really appreciate that. That's right, you candy canes. As you come into the room, say hi. Say hi, where you're listening from. What are your thoughts and questions? Drop it down below. Thank you so much, Juanita. You are a channel member. You hold me down. I really, really appreciate you. Thank you for the super sticker. Now, a couple of things. Before I start reading these people for filth, let me find the reasonably shady segment where they actually talked about the situation, okay? Let's see if the episode is even still up. Okay. I'm going to play that in a bit. We'll get there. Now, this is the thing. This is where I think Bravo is really messing up. And let me know what you think too. Put it in the chat box. This is where I think Bravo is messing up. Number one, they're waiting too long for this Andy and Robin sit down. They have poor, I don't know who the decision makers are at Bravo. I don't know who does their marketing. I don't know who the executives are. I don't know who the producers are, but they're getting this all wrong. First, if you're going to do a sit down with Andy and Robin, they need to do it now. Why are they waiting until March 5th? I think their rationale, and I think this is flawed logic, and I'll tell you why. I think their rationale is, yeah, let's, tease it that Andy is going to grill Robin about, her lying on the show and blah, 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 and all of that stuff. So let's do it at the third part of the season of the reunion to get people to watch all three parts of the reunion, right? I think that's what their rationale is. Let's do a post-reunion sit down, but that makes no sense in the world that we live in right now. What they really should do is have the Andy and Robin sit down, and they need to air that ASAP instead of the Watch What Happens Live episode they're doing after the finale. That is when the sit down between Andy and Robin should air, because we're not going to give two flying Fs in March about this story. We're not going to tune into a reunion where we know they're just sitting up there and lying and placating. We don't care. To be honest, I don't even want to watch the finale, but I'm going to do it for you guys so we can get up here and talk, the tea and shade the hell out of them. I think this is a huge misstep. It's a huge missed opportunity. He should be doing that sit down with Robin this Sunday. You want us to wait to after the Super Bowl and then 3 additional weeks of a reunion that we all know is already going to be flat. I think we got everything we're going to get from the reunion from the trailer. That's my personal opinion. I don't think it's going to be this bombshell reunion. I think everything we're going to get from the reunion, we already got it in the trailer. Who is going to care about this in March? We just got to February. That's a huge misstep. The next big misstep is I don't think that Andy is going to ask the right questions. I think Andy is going to be in his feelings because Carlos King basically read the franchise for filth and said this would not happen on my watch. And as we all know, Andy and Carlos are big rivals. So I think Andy's going to be in his feelings about that. And I think Andy is going to focus on the cheating. We don't care about the cheating. At least I don't think the majority of people with any type of IQ, candy cane, critical thinking hat, we don't care about the cheating. That's not the question. And I say that because I don't think anybody actually thought Robin and Juan was in a real relationship. So I don't think he was actually cheating. I think Juan was doing Juan, Robin was doing Robin, and they were lying and faking it, for storyline and for his persona, for the school, you know what I mean, for his career. But I don't think anybody really ever thought they were in a real relationship. Therefore, it's not technically cheating, right? The real questions that we need answers to is this. Andy, if you're listening, please take notes if you haven't done this interview yet. We want to know, let's talk about Juan's lawsuit. Let's talk about how Juan was implicated in a sexual assault lawsuit regarding one of his students, that he was negligent and failed to protect the student. And instead, he allegedly covered it up. Is Juan denying this? Can he talk about it? Did she know about it? Did he know about it before filming? Did she know about it before filming? Is this why they finally, quote, got married? Where's the marriage license? Did that have anything to do with the conversation around the prenup? Why was that not brought up on the show? Is that another thing that Robyn and Gizellle and probably Ashley too knew about during filming and before filming, but made a pact not to bring it to the show? I want to know about that. What's going on with the sexual assault lawsuit with Juan? Why didn't they talk about it this season? Even though the news broke during the season, that means they sure as hell knew about it prior to the seasons, because lawsuits don't happen overnight. Is that a reason why she was depressed? Is that why he's so angry? I want to talk about that. I also want to talk about the girlfriend's allegations. I want to talk about that. Andy, did you ask that? The girlfriend didn't just say, oh yeah, me and Juan were dating for a year. She made some serious allegations about him and his friends. Are we going to talk about that? Andy, are you going to ask her, do you have knowledge? Does Juan and his friends go out and find girls and women to then go pass around and have sex with and run trains on, as this woman alleged? Do you have any knowledge of that, or do we have to go to your Patreon to find that out too? That's the questions I want Andy to ask. I also want Andy to ask, do you have any knowledge of this girl's claim that Juan, had his way with her in the hotel room, and then his friend came by, exposed himself sexually in front of her, and expected her to do a sexual act. And the experience freaked her out so much, she stopped communicating with him. Do you have any knowledge of that? Is that true? Is that false? Or do we have to go to your Patreon for that too? Those are the questions I need Andy to ask her. I don't give two flying Fs about this, quote, cheating crap. Juan didn't cheat on Robyn. They weren't together. Call a thing a thing. But those are the questions I need answers to. You know what I mean? It's like they say, Anastasia Nicolazzi, I forgot her name. I listened to this one true crime podcast. It's called Anatomy of Murder. And she's a prosecutor, and she always talks about criminals. And she says, or fraudsters and stuff, and she always says, admit what you have to, deny what you can. And I think this is what's happening with them. I think they had to finally admit that they knew about the girl's cheating allegations because she was dropping the receipts at Giorgio Says and other people, the hotel receipts, the emails, the screenshots, all of that. It was all about to come out. So they were like, well, let's just admit this part, but let's just completely not talk about the other stuff she said. So Andy, did you address that? Or are you just in your feelings because Carlos King said, Robyn basically has egg on your face at this point? I personally think Robyn should be fired. I also think Gizellle should be fired as well. Ashley should be demoted for this whole scheme. Also, it's not just about them lying and omitting the fact about the cheating allegations. It's also not just the fact that they never talked about Juan's sexual assault lawsuit. They never addressed these women's allegations on there. It's also the fact that they then tried to make Chris Bassett out as if he is a sexual predator and deflect that way. They bullied Karen the entire season, which was absolutely ridiculous. They bullied Wendy the entire season. All ways to deflect. The Chris Bassett attack was deflection. And this is another thing I think that they were doing too. I think it was also deflection. And I also think that they were trying to have a way to discredit any of the other women if they were to bring up the Juan's cheating allegations. Oh, you're just saying that about Juan because you're mad I called out Chris. Oh, you're just saying that about Juan because you're mad, Karen, I called you out about Blue Eyes, you're just calling out Juan, Wendy, because you're mad, that me and Peter and blah, 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 blah. It was a way to deflect, and it was also a way to discredit. So if the women did come out with their knowledge about Juan and the cheating, they could say, no, you're just trying to get back at us. That's not true. You see what I'm saying? And that's pretty much what they did to Karen. Remember when Karen came out about the blonde girl in Georgetown? Oh, Karen's just in her feelings about Blue Eyes. Karen's just in her feelings because they called you fake. They tried to deflect, and then they also tried to discredit. So Again, Bravo, you're really still sloppy with this, and you're still making the wrong steps. Also, Bravo, Andy, if you're listening to this, another thing you should have done. I'll repeat it because we have more people in the room now. I'll repeat quickly. The first way I think Bravo and Andy are messing up here is they're waiting until March to have this post reunion sit down with Andy and Robin. At that point, it's stale, it's dead, nobody cares about it. We're talking about it now because it's hot right now. I personally think that they should do the Andy and Robin sit down this Sunday. Is that tomorrow, right? After the Potomac season finale, instead of the Watch What Happens Live episode. And I'll add to that, I also think that they should have done an interactive component. Like, we're in 2023, they need to catch up to the times where, sure, you can have callers call in, but what about a live stream? What about some way where we can have, real-time interaction, where we can ask questions to Robin, we can ask questions to Andy. Obviously they can have someone filter through the stuff, mods or whatever, but in real time, ask real relevant questions. Waiting until March for this sit down, we don't care. We want her fired now. We don't care. I think that's a huge misstep, okay? Now that's going on with them. Now let's address the other rumor that's going around that Giselle set up Robin for this okie doke. So cliff notes to this rumor is basically people are saying, Robin found out about the cheating. She went to Gizellle for help because Robin is Gizelle's, shadow. She's her sidekick. She kind of just listens to whatever Gizellle says and falls in line with her. And it was Gizellle who said, no, don't tell the women on the show. Just pretend like it doesn't say anything. Don't say anything. And Robin just went along with it because Gizellle didn't want Robin to be the main focus of the season if it was about her and Juan's cheating or something like that. And then they were saying how Gizellle wanted to just save it for Patreon as some sort of money grab for that. So basically that Gizellle set up Robin. I personally don't believe this rumor. I don't think it actually makes any sense. I don't think Gizellle set up Robin at all. I think that, yes, Robin is very much Gizelle's shadow, but I think that Robin is also still very much her own person. More so off camera than on camera. Because as we all know, she's playing this, boring role on camera, but apparently off camera, her life is booked and busy and drama and assaults and cheating and everything else in the world, right? Do I think Robin went to Gizellle for advice? Yeah, they're friends. But do I think it was Robin's choice to lie and withhold it? 100%. She's a grown woman. And as much disdain as we have for the Green-Eyed Bandits, I do think that Robin and Gizellle are genuinely friends. And even though I don't really check Gizellle like that, I'm not into Gizellle. I think that she lies. I think she connives. I think she's boring as hell. I'm not a Gizellle person. But I also am fair. And I don't think Gizellle actually would ever intend Robin any true ill will. I do think that they are genuine friends. I think the most simplistic answer is usually the truth. I think it really, really just boils down to the fact that Robin knew Juan was, quote, cheating, aka he was just living his life and sleeping with women, and these rumors were going around. I do think she was scared that the other women knew about it. I do think she went to Gizellle, and Gizellle basically said, listen, you don't say anything. If it comes up, then we will be on the offense. But let's just do all the distraction with lying on Chris Bassett, bullying Karen, bullying Wendy, messing with Mia's head because she's very, very easy to manipulate. Let's do that. Let's get Ashley on our side because we know Ashley is messy and is ready to ride or die for us. Because I do think Ashley knew, and I think Ashley was holding the secret. But I don't think that Gizellle was trying to set up Robin. That just doesn't make any sense to me. I also think that it was Robin's idea. I want to know what you guys think, okay? My candy canes. I actually think Robin came up with the whole go to our Patreon for the truth. I think she actually came up with that in the moment. I think the Patreon even kind of threw Gizellle off. I really think because they were, they had this whole lie and, damage control that they were doing on the podcast. I think the whole Patreon thing just really came back and bit them in the ass in a really big way. Because again, I think they're dumb criminals, right? They're dumb criminals. They're dumb fraudsters. They really thought they were doing something on that podcast. They really thought they were like getting ahead of it. Oh, I already knew. She already knew about it. So that's not any tea. Blah, 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 blah. Catch me outside. And then Gizellle, I knew because I was a friend. Da-da-da. Like they really thought they were doing something. But let me find that snippet, okay? Let me find that snippet again on the podcast. And this time, I want us to listen to it from a place of, does it sound like Robyn in the moment is coming up with the whole Patreon scheme? Like, I really think Robyn came up with that in the moment, and it really came back to bite them in the ass. But let's see. Let me see if I can play it for you guys. 1 second.
Right. Okay. And she hasn't like backed away from it. Like she's like, this my boo, y'all. So the other day they became Instagram official. Okay. Yeah, we're not hiding. We're not hiding.
Give me a second. I gotta find the spot again.
You could have.
Well, that's from the beginning. She'll the play and the culture.
Live and you learn. You lived and you learned. I'm taking it back. I'm sorry, girl. I should have known.
I don't know. Did they? Hold on, you guys. I can't find the right spot, so we'll do it in a second. But yeah, I think that in the moment, they really were thinking that they were doing something. Hold on. I'm going to mute this one quick second while I find the spot, but like the video while I find the spot. Okay.
Married. Yeah. And the world found out that you and Karen apparently had beef. Yeah. So that played out on The Real Housewives. I tell it. So there were a lot of lies and things being misconstrued. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what I will say, okay, so for y'all, I'm sure all y'all that are listening don't really know exactly what we're talking about because you don't, live on Instagram or whatever, TikTok, Twitter, whatever it might be. Young lady came forward talking about she and Juan dated during COVID. Mm-hmm. And she shows this like hotel receipt with his name on it. Right. Okay. That's like that's legit. I don't know. I mean, that's the premise of the allegation. Right. Exactly. Yeah. So, what I want to say. Okay. So what I want to say, first of all, I was aware of the situation before we filmed season 7. Right. And because this young lady was so pressed to tell me and to tell you, Gizellle, yes, I assume she told the whole cast. Right. Because she DM'd me. Right. So all of season 7, I'm just like waiting for somebody to bring it up. Because, Karen is good for thinking she got some tea. Right. Or anybody. I mean, like that's our life. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just ready for it. I'm waiting for it. And so when we're in Mexico and Ashley tells me that Karen, was talking about us, then I'm like, oh, okay, this is it. Right. And she talks about some blonde holding hand, him holding hands with a blonde in Georgetown that looks like Karen. I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Okay. Right. Whew. So that was, it was kind of comical to me. So then we go down that road. But however, I was already aware of the situation and I expected to talk about it on season 7. Right. Now, the situation, when it was presented to me, was handled, was discussed. Mm-hmm. It was handled. It was something we had to work through, It was not something that it was just like, oh, okay, whatever. Oh, yeah. However, there are a lot of things that need to be cleared up with what's being said with what allegedly happened, which did not. So, okay. I'm kind of, and I want to almost maybe share the details for Patreon.
Oh, yeah. We'll give the details on the Patreon.
Yes.
So go ahead on and subscribe.
So I will give more details on Patreon, but what I will say is, yes, Juan was an idiot and communicated with this woman on Instagram, because whatever. He's bored. He needs attention. He's, it's the pandemic, blah, 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 whatever.
Right.
However, they did not date. He did not fly her anywhere.
Right.
And there is a reason why his name is on a hotel receipt, which I will share on Patreon.
Yes. Boom.
And the reason is not because he asked her to come and was volunteered to pay for this hotel room.
Right. The end. Okay. Yes. And then I will say several things on Patreon, like, let me catch her outside. Let me catch her outside.
But, but since she pretty much was trying to bribe Juan and told her that she was going to become famous off of us, then I don't know, girl, go maybe, I don't know, hopefully you can start an OnlyFans and get some money off of it or something.
Yes, go show your booty on OnlyFans.
Right. Yeah. But I will say, just with respect to Juan and I, we dealt with the situation. It was definitely something that, we had to work through relationship-wise. Maybe that's why the wedding didn't happen when y'all wanted it to.
Oh, really?
I mean,
let's discuss. We'll discuss on Patreon.
I mean, yeah, maybe. I mean, it's just, you know what I'm saying? But so anyway, it was something that we dealt with, and, we're moving forward.
Yes. And I'm happy that y'all are moving forward. And not to like go back to what I was talking about earlier, but I just want to make myself feel better.
Yeah.
Cher is dating.
All right, you guys. Yeah. This is a thing. I mean, it was so obvious that they were lying through their teeth, lying through their veneers. But it also seemed very, Robyn was just too chill. She was too unbothered by the situation, too whatever about it. It's bizarre. It's weird. Gizellle was doing the most. She was hucking and jiving. Oh, catch me outside. Let's talk on Patreon. It just seemed very whack. The whole conversation was just very whack and bizarre. And again, I think Bravo and Andy Cohen are making just very huge missteps. Very huge missteps on this one. I'll say again, the top 3 missteps I think they're making, because now we have 167 people in the room. Be sure to like and subscribe and stick around, Candy Canes. I'm about to go through your Candy Cane question and comments. But just to quickly recap, I think the biggest 3 mistakes Bravo is making is 1, they're waiting too long to air this Robyn and Andy Cohen sit down. They should air it tomorrow after the finale, and there should be an interactive component where people can call in, not the pre-callers the way they do on Watch What Happens Live. I mean, in real time, drop the link, Andy Cohen, drop the link, and then also have people write in real-time questions. 2, I think it's going to be a big nothing burger because we don't care about Juan's, quote, cheating. He's not cheating. They're not in a real relationship. I want to know about the sexual assault lawsuit. What was Juan's knowledge? What was his negligence? What was his participation? What's going on with that? Was that another lie that Robyn withheld talking about on the show? Or do we have to go to Patreon? I want to know about the girlfriend's allegations about passing the women around sexually and about Juan's friend sexually exposing himself to her and expecting her to do a sexual act on that. I want to know that. And 3, I want to know everybody who knew. We already know Gizellle, but did Ashley know? Carlos King thought Ashley knew. I need Robyn to confirm every single cast member who kept the secret. That's what I really want to know. Hey, Natalia says, hey, Candy, thank you so much for the super sticker. She goes, hi, Candy, I hate when women disrespect other women. This woman have no loyalty in that situation. Juan is married to you, honey, not to her, Robyn. Yeah. Yeah, very true. Very true. And you guys, I also want to know, sorry. I also want to know, there's that rumor going around that we talked about. And thank you again, Natalia, for the super sticker and great question. And I mean, great comment. I agree with you. But I also want to know what you guys think. You know, there is that rumor going around that Gizellle low-key set up Robyn. Either set her up to get fired, or she set her up because she didn't want, Robyn to be the center of the attention with the whole cheating storyline. I personally don't agree with that. I don't think that tracks or makes sense. I think this really was just Tweedledee and Tweedledum on their usual BS, lying on other people, deflecting on other people, trying to discredit and expose other people when they're actually sitting on the biggest, stories ever, but they don't actually want to tell their truth. I really just think it's Tweedledee and Tweedledum over here. I don't think Gizellle was trying to set her up or anything. So everybody stick around my candy canes, because right now I'm going to take your candy cane question and comments. But everybody watching on the replay, put your thoughts down below. I want to know what you think, about the 3 things I said, about this sit down, about did Robyn set her up, or did Gizellle set up Robyn, whatever the situation was. Put it down below. And also, be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss it when we go live. Also, be sure to share this with a friend, because a kiki is always better with community. Check out the description box down below and join our newsletter. It is free, and you get a free self-love guide. Check out our podcast and our courses.